Hey everybody, we're live. It's another episode of Always Bookin Comedy. We got Katy Ipock in the doc.
I
Doc. She's in the doc. How do I say
Yes,
your
and
last
I
name,
don't know why
Katy?
the lights in this room just went blue.
They just went blue. We can
Just
hear
went.
you fine.
Well, that's
How do I say your last name, Katy?
it is IPOC.
All right, I got it.
IPOTK.
Oh, there we go. Katy Ipock from Bend, Oregon, correct?
Yes, much better.
Awesome. Are now I know that you help run shows. Are you also a comic yourself?
I am. So I
Awesome.
started doing comedy in 2016, and then I started producing in 2017.
Awesome. What was it like getting started in comedy? What did you do? Go to an open mic?
I did. So my comedy birthday is January 6th, 2016, which at the time was not as auspicious of a day. And then, Bend is a very small town, and the scene was even smaller back then.
Okay.
Um,
How small are we talking? Do you know the population of Bend?
well, Bend right now has a little over 90,000 people. I think when
Okay.
I started comedy, we were still at the maybe 50, 60,000.
Okay.
At the time, there were only two comedy producers. Of course, the two hated each other, as most scenes have some sort of
Beef.
dichotomy. Yeah. Um, but I came to comedy with a little bit of speech team background, and so I got two paid gigs off my first open mic,
Wow.
which is a bonus to starting in a
Unheard of.
yeah, it's a bonus to starting in a small scene, but it's also a curse because it makes you think you're better than you are.
Katy, can I interrupt you for a second? We got a live comment here. Is it true that Bend has the last Blockbuster video store? Are you kidding me? I'm gonna be there in like a month. Oh my goodness, I'm totally going. I think I have my Blockbuster video card from like last century.
Yes, we
Like
have.
in the 1900s.
Oh yeah, we have the last blockbuster. They now have a lot of movie like paraphernalia, so it's
Okay.
cool to just walk around. You can still rent movies if you want. I also heard that it's an Airbnb, but I have not found a
Yeah,
confirmation.
I saw that. I think it was just like one special weekend you could stay in it.
Oh,
It's not like regular, but
bummer,
yeah.
because it wouldn't be the first time I made out with somebody in that building, and I wouldn't mind doing it again.
Okay, so you get started in comedy, you get booked right off the bat.
Yeah.
And town is smaller. It's been boom times in Bend, it sounds like. So describe those. So you had two competing show producers. So when you got the two offers, was it from each of the producers?
No, they were both from the same producer. And the other producer, of course, was very territorial about it and telling me to not accept those bookings and use this weird Star Wars reference of like, that guy's a Sith Lord and he's going to tell you that, like, little words from this guy's mouth. He's a Sith Lord and he's going to tell you that he's going to teach you how to cheat death, but he's really just going to get you killed. Like, don't follow him at all, which it was comedy in Bend, Oregon. I just wanted to sling jokes. Like,
Yeah.
so I didn't listen.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how are those gigs? Do you remember them?
Everyone remembers their first paid gig. I bought special heels for it and a special dress for it. Like
Stage
I
shoes?
treated it like it was, the comedy store. Both gigs were great. But of course I watch the video now and think no one should have allowed me on a stage at all. Definitely.
What can you put your finger on like one thing that you've improved on substantially from that first time you were on stage at a paid gig?
I think I've gotten better at sounding unrehearsed.
Okay.
So I came to it with a speech and debate team background. My specialties were expository speaking and oratory, which are both very kind of droll and more political kind of in nature. And so I was used to memorizing speeches word for word, exactly where I'm going to walk and what direction I'm going to walk in. And while that's awesome, in comedy, you can't look that polished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some people get away with it. Jerry Seinfeld is pretty prescribed in the way he tells his jokes. But yeah, there is a definite sometimes you see people and they're reading from a script in their head, and it just seems something's off about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so you get started. So what is the open mic scene like in Bend back then? Is there a mic every night of the week?
Oh, there still isn't a mic at every night of the week.
Okay.
So there was one open mic ran by the other guy, by the Jedi, not the Sith Lord, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. He had a monthly open mic, and the other guy would just bring comics onto his shows, and they would just treat paid gigs like open mics, which at the time I was like, cool, but now I'm like, wow, that's feels unethical.
Yeah.
So that was it.
Where is there like a big city near Bend to well, like what's your nearest big city? How long a drive is it?
So I would say our biggest hub, especially for comedy, would be Portland, Oregon, which is about a 2.5-hour drive away.
Okay.
In the summer, that's not so bad, but you have to go over a mountain pass to get to it. So in the winter, yeah, not worth it for a lot.
Yeah. So how many mics a week do you have now in Bend?
So we have 4 open mics now. We have 2 open mics on Monday, an open mic on Tuesday, and then an open mic on Wednesday.
Every week. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You can get up on stage 4 times. Can you do both of the Monday open mics, or are they?
Yeah. So the Monday, there's an earlier open mic that starts at 7:30, and then a later open mic that starts at 9, I think.
Okay. Excuse me. So with your comic hat on, what was tell me about a very exciting booking win. Like obviously that first open mic was one, but something else where you're really excited, really honored to be offered a gig.
So, and of course, this was a little before 2020, I think, and if you know the comic Alex Elkin, you know why I say that. But I was following him on social media right as he was winning the San Francisco comedy competition.
I'm sorry, I missed the name. Say it again.
Alex Elkin.
Okay, Alex Elkin. Okay.
And I saw that he was booked to come to Bend. And so I found the name of the production company bringing him to Bend. And I had emailed and said I would love a chance to audition to open. And this was, say, maybe 8 months in to comedy. Like, it was less than a year.
What's the venue like? Are we talking like a big theater, or is this like a bar?
It was, for Bend, it was a big theater. I want to say it sat 250. It was definitely the hub of theater in town, like plays and that kind of stuff. So definitely big. And I had messaged the producer, I'd love a chance to audition to open, and the producer, without even asking for a tape, asking for an audition, was like, hey, do you want to host?
Huh.
And so I got to host, and it felt so amazing. And of course, we find out, because it's a theater, they have their little like concession stand, and they're so used to having intermissions during shows.
Yeah.
And that the theater had kind of forced us to have an intermission during the comedy show, which you don't want to do.
Yeah,
it's not a good idea. So I had to introduce Alex Elkin twice, basically, and kind of the first time get the room ready, and the second time get the room ready. And I was so new, and again, probably shouldn't not have been gifted that opportunity so early. When I brought Alex back the second time, I told a joke that was a little blue for his audience, and yeah, it didn't really set him up for success very well.
Huh.
Poor guy.
Well,
but
lesson
being
learned.
able to do it was the win. But
yeah. Lesson learned.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about show producing. So tell me about the very first show. Why did you decide you wanted to run a show, and how did you even make that happen?
So this kind of goes back to the origin stories of comic. So, going back to, Jedi Council, Sith Lord. Jedi Council blacklisted me from his shows because I was working with the other guy. And then the other guy kept getting intoxicated during shows and walking audience members. And so I told him, I don't really want to work with you anymore. And so then, I didn't have a stage to perform on, and I still liked comedy. And so I was stuck in a position where I still wanted, even just to do open mic once a week, because I had started comedy because I'm a stay-at-home mom with a special needs kid. And I like the idea of getting out of the house once a week using adult length sentences and like getting in touch with my humanity.
Okay.
And so I basically started my own open mic just so I could get out of the house once a week. That was it.
What night of the week is your open mic? Or do you still run it?
So that is now ran by the venue itself. So
Okay.
initially it was on Tuesday nights at a country bar I was DJing at. And then we had to move it to a different venue because we had a black man saying the N-word during his sets. And for some reason that made the venue uncomfortable. And they wanted me to tell him not to say that.
Okay.
And I wasn't going to tell him he couldn't say that. So
Yeah.
instead, I literally moved my open mic. I was like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And now that venue does the mics on Wednesday instead. But yeah, it's still going.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's an interesting little bit of a pickle to be in.
Yeah, no, it's
some drama.
I am jealous of anyone who produces shows that doesn't have to deal with pickles and drama.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a lot out there, huh?
Always.
Any amusing pickles you can share over the years? Anything you were like proud how you navigated it?
I don't know if I'm ever proud of how I navigate them, just because they're always pickles and difficult. I will say that I am proud to have always taken the side of victims of sexual misconduct and sexual assault, and always done everything I could to make sure my shows were safe for women in comedy. That has always kind of been, if I was a beauty queen and I had a platform, that would be my platform for sure.
Nice. Do you do anything explicitly or openly to make sure that people know that it's a safe environment? Do you like I don't know, have a code of conduct or anything like that at your mics?
So we do
Or
for
your
the
shows?
comics now. It's not something that I used to do, but I slowly started creating a printed list of rules. And when you sign up for the open mic, it says you're literally agreeing to these rules. And
Okay.
each one of those rules was put on paper because somebody did something. Like I literally have a rule that says you have to attempt to be funny. Because one gentleman was so unfunny, I got accused of running a recruitment for white nationalists. Yeah.
Oh boy.
So, new rule was created. You have to be attempting to be funny.
Where would you say, so you must get a lot of contact with all kinds of different comics, running an open mic.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you say you're in a relatively small city, where are the comics coming from? How do they hear about the mic? Are they new comics? Are they veteran comics who moved to Bend?
So it's pretty much all your typical marketing process. Posting on social media, putting it into, your entertainment newsletters, the event calendars, wherever you can find them. I feel like that's how, those veteran comics, those comics, the ones that are moving to Bend, that's how they find out about it. And I find a lot of brand new comics just find out through word of mouth. You get one brand new comic to come in and try it because they see it in the event calendar. And the next thing you know, their friend's trying it, and then their friend's trying it. And then you start kind of seeing ripples of people joining in.
Yeah, neat. So then did you graduate? I don't know if graduate is the right word, but transition from open mics to shows at some point? And what was that like?
So before I had started my own productions, I was helping the Sith Lord produce shows. So I had already kind of gotten the basics of it and already had contacts with venues. And one of the venues was also kind of tired of some of the behavior. And so they asked me to start producing shows of my own there. So I kind of inherited that venue. And then slowly but surely in a small town, if you do good work for somebody, other people come and ask you to do the same work.
Nice. That's awesome. So tell me what makes a good show producer.
Almost everything that you don't think about in terms of trying to be a good comic. So, um, it's a lot of introverted work. It's a lot of by yourself work. Um, it's also unfun work every day. So if you want to be a good show promoter and a show producer, you have to be pushing your show every day. Some way, some social media posts, some event calendar. Every day you need to be finding some way to get that word out into the world. Um, you also kind of have to have your paperwork in a row and your ducks in a row. Get that promotion material out a month ahead of time and get an online ticket link and all the stuff that's not fun. As
Yeah.
comics, we want to tell the fun jokes and party in the green room and enjoy each other's company, which is all wonderful stuff that I love. But to be a good show producer, you have to put that aside and focus on a little bit of drudgery.
I've never been to Bend to do comedy. Are rooms generally full or less full? Is it difficult to draw a crowd? I think it's a tourism kind of place, so maybe
So,
certain times a year it's easier than others.
I never really struggled in what we call the shoulder seasons because we get a lot of tourism for winter because we have Mount Bachelor that's
Okay.
really known for skiing, and then we get a lot of tourism in the summer because we're a 15-minute drive away from some of the most beautiful lakes in the Northwest. And then there's those shoulder seasons where it's too cold to hike but too warm to ski. Um, but I think the locals appreciate kind of the shoulder seasons.
Okay.
They're more likely to come out in that time. So
Okay.
I've never really struggled with it. I think the biggest struggle has been in the last year as Live Nation has taken over our biggest outdoor amphitheater. Because
Mm,
now we're getting big names. Like
okay.
Matt Rife just performed here
Oh, wow.
a couple weeks ago, and they sold out 50,000 tickets for that.
Wow.
Yeah, so that pretty much wiped out all local comedy that weekend.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I do wonder if maybe that raises awareness of comedy for other people, for other times, and maybe you just, maybe you don't run a show up against Live Nation in the future.
Yeah, well, and I think that's where I pay attention to posts on social media and kind of slip into comment sections when I see someone saying, "Oh my God, we love stand-up comedy, it's here," and kind of slip in and be like, "There's shows every Saturday here," like
Yeah.
some of that kind of guerrilla marketing.
Yeah, that's terrific. Okay, let's talk about some like technical things like sound, lighting, seating. Like, what do you think makes a good show? What's your maybe tell us about your favorite venue that you've run a show at and why it's your favorite
So
venue.
my heart will always be with Craft Kitchen and Brewery. It's a venue that um, when I initially got introduced to it was a restaurant slash brewery, and they were moving locations from a very popular spot to a kind of out of the way industrial area. And so they needed people to kind of know where they were. And I'd heard through the grapevine that I could fill rooms, toot my own horn, whatever. And so they had asked me to run some shows. And I always tell people it definitely looks like a place that you stash a dead body because it's industrial, it's not well lit. It has that kind of like strip mall industrial feel to it. Um, but there's something about the inside that if you can just kind of suspend your logic for a little bit and just walk inside, it is turned into one of the most amazing venues. And I'm absolutely in love with it.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so let's go through it step by step. So, is it on ground level?
Yes.
Okay, ground level. What are the ceilings like? High, low?
As we go through this, you're going to hear everything that should make this room wrong.
Okay, that's
And then
okay.
make it.
I have wrong rooms that are great as well.
The ceilings are super high.
Super high. Okay.
Super.
What's the stage? Is there a stage?
There's not a stage.
Okay,
There's just an
we're on the
empty
floor.
area. It's definitely
And
an old brewery room
sure.
for sure.
What's the seating? Do people stand or are there chairs?
So there are chairs. Technically, we call a sellout 32, though we can technically seat And I would say this in the winter, we can seat up to 45.
Okay.
In the summer, and when the weather's good, we're able to open up a garage door and then have some outdoor seating, which can still see and hear just as well. So we can actually open up to like 60 seats in the summer.
Nice. Is there lighting on the comedian?
Yes, from
Okay.
the ceiling.
Okay.
It's chandelier type light. We definitely don't have any stage lighting.
Okay. All right. And what's the sound?
The sound, it is the Rockville RPG 2x15 system, and I know this because I'm in love with it. I know people call Rockville an off-brand,
Okay.
and it's definitely a little more financially doable than some of the name brands. But I've been using Rockville since day one, and I absolutely love them. And no, I'm not paid.
What does 2x2 mean?
I don't know. It's just what the system. Well, so the it's two speakers.
Two speakers. Okay.
So I think the 2x15 is their two 15-inch speakers. I think.
Well, that sounds pretty good. Is there a mic stand?
No, I had to buy my own mic stand.
Okay. All right.
But two speakers. I don't really know the technical stuff, but the amp where you plug it's got 8 inputs.
Oh, the soundboard maybe, or yeah, the amp soundboard. Sure.
It also has Bluetooth capability, which is great for running music during shows for
Terrific. Yeah.
It comes with mics. Every time I've gotten a Rockville system, I've gotten 3 of them now. I've always gotten longer cords and at least one SM58.
Nice. Sure. Very good. SHURE. Everybody. Well, just to throw this out there, Saturday, August 19th, I will be in this room.
Yes.
Been there, never been to Bend. Very excited about it. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, and you're doing the Bend Underground Comedy Club the night before, yes?
I am. Friday, August 18th. Thanks for the setup there.
Yeah, no, that's
Bend Comedy Club.
That's ran by Eric Oren. That's another amazing room for sure.
All right, let's talk about some road comedy. Have you ever been on the road at all?
Yes.
Okay, got any fun stories for us?
So it's actually one of the first big road gigs I did was also with Alex Elkin. I don't know how he liked me after I hosted for him, but he let me go feature for him on the road. And by the road, I mean we went to 2 towns. So the first one was Hood River, Oregon, which is a little smaller than Bend, but not that big of a deal. It was the Elks Lodge. So it was one of those kind of fraternal organization shows. But I felt so comedically adult and cool getting to do that room. And then the next night we went to this little town called Irrigan, Oregon. The bar was apparently the only thing within 50 miles. So there were some people that drove over 50 miles just to come see Alex because it was something to do. I think Irrigan had maybe 4,000 people. It was small. And it is still to this day one of my favorite shows I've ever done.
That's awesome.
Everybody in the room knew each other.
Okay.
So, I have a couple of pieces, a couple of jokes. They're on my first album now, so I don't really do them anymore, where I kind of do a little bit of crowd work and kind of not pick on people, but, kind of bring people into a joke. And, because the whole room knew each other, it was funnier for everyone. It was just phenomenal. Of course, my mom came. We actually made it a whole family adventure. My parents came, my husband came, my kid came. I mean, kid wasn't at the show, but my mom was at the show, and my mom was heckling me during the show, as parents tend to do. And of course, the audience found that hilarious. Irrigan, Oregon is still, it just has my heart.
It's your favorite. So let's back up a little bit. You have an album? Tell me about this. Where did you record it? How did it come together?
So I actually recorded it at Craft Kitchen and Brewery. It's a live album.
Okay.
And it came together because I've been doing comedy for, at that time, about 6 years, 7 years. It's hard to keep track at this point. And I got to the point where I had 45 minutes. Well, it kind of got cut down to 40. That I was just ready to not do anymore. I was ready to retire, but I didn't want to just shove it in the drawer. I wanted to honor that work And so I self-produced an album, paid a production company to come in and live record the sound and released it on DistroKid. I didn't do it, expecting it to go well. I just wanted to honor the material.
Nice. So do you get paid when people download it? Is that how that works?
Yep. So, it's if you listen to it on Spotify, I get 0.003 cents for every track stream. It's been out since November of last year, and it has made $17 so far.
Okay. So not necessarily super lucrative. What's your biggest moneymaker? Is that Spotify? Or do you know the breakdown, like, of that 17?
I know the breakdown. I think it's actually Apple. I think I've had a couple people actually purchase the album from Apple Music, and that was like, $5 a piece or whatever.
Okay. Mark in the Carolinas asks, are you comfortable saying a ballpark cost to put that together? And just before you answer that, can you say if you did any video or if it was audio only?
It was audio only. So I forget what DistroKid is, but you have to pay a monthly fee. So I didn't, I think it's like $79 or not a monthly fee, a yearly fee, $79 a month for them to host it. And then I want to say I paid the production company overall, I want to say came up to like $300. We recorded 2 shows, plus they mastered it.
Nice.
So I think it, came out under 5.
Do you remember how many microphones they used? They
just used 2. Okay. So they had one in the audience, and then they had plugged into my Rockville sound system.
Very nice. The amp, the aforementioned amp.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're kind of wrapping up. Anything I forgot to ask you, or anything you did want to talk about in terms of? Oh, how about this question? Now that you're a show producer, what a booking win from that side of the table? Somebody you're really excited about?
Well, I think my biggest booking win was Ken Hamlet, because he was the first out of town comic I ever booked on my own, and that one will always.
How'd that come together? How did you guys find each other?
He reached out to me, and to this day, I'm never quite sure how I got on his radar, but I will always be thankful.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Cool. What is maybe like can you share a show running fail story that people can learn from, that maybe you can laugh about now?
Well, I learned that you should always have a spare mic and a spare cord, because if those fail during a show and you don't have those, then the comics are forced to yell. And it is hard to be fun when you're yelling. So always have spare technical stuff with you.
Yeah. Good call. Good call. Hopefully you didn't just jinx me. I am running a show tomorrow night with no spares. We'll see what happens. I get away with it all the time, but hopefully I get away with it tomorrow. All right. Well, fantastic. Do you have something to do with the festival?
So we did 2 years of the Small Batch Comedy Festival. We are still kind of in talks about whether we're going to do it again.
Okay.
I would love to say I'll be announcing dates in 2 months, but I'm still not totally.
You don't know. It was in Bend?
Yep.
Okay.
Small Batch Comedy Festival.
Any quick lessons learned running a festival?
That people in a small local scene that don't run festivals and have never had the courage to run a festival will run their mouths about it. And you just have to let it go.
A lot of unkindness towards bookers of any kind, producers of any kind. All right. Well, Katy, this is incredible. Katy Ipock from Bend, Oregon. Where can people find you? Where can they find this album to download, and what's it called?
So you can just go to my website, katyipock.com, KATYIPOCK.com. Apparently, I'm the only Katy Ipock to try to do anything on the internet, because that's how you find me anywhere. It's my first last name. And you can find links to all the things.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll be in Bend, Oregon, August 18th and 19th. If we have anybody watching this before then, that's 2023. And hopefully I'll be back in future years as well. Katy, thanks so much for your time. And Always Bookin Comedy will be back next Monday night. It's 6:30 in Denver. I don't know what time it is wherever you live, but every Monday, 6:30 p.m. It's just 30 minutes long. Tune in every week. And thanks to the live audience and the questions. And have a good one, Katy. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark.